Hey guys, what's up? I just want to pop in here and talk a little bit about how to build a meal to build your body. By that I mean meals that are going to be good for fat loss and good for building that lean toned muscle. So first of all, whenever you're planning out your day, the easiest thing to do, of course, you got to look at calories. That's first. That's calories in, calories out. That's king. Second, you want to look at your protein. So protein has many different sources. There's vegan sources, but I'm going to concentrate on the animal-based ones for the sake of this video, but there are a lot of vegan sources for protein as well, such as tofu, tempeh, chickpeas, and various things like that. So actually I'm not going to start with protein powder. All right, so there's lots of different options. You can have steak, hamburger. I would make sure it's lean. I would not get cuts that are really fatty. I would get the extra lean cuts such as this. It's a filet mignon steak, so it's going to have the lowest fat. With your hamburger, I would go with 96% lean, maybe even leaner than that. So that's an option. I love to buy frozen fish from Costco. It's very easy to prepare. You can prepare this in 15 to 20 minutes depending on the temperature. This is orange roughy. I also sometimes have tilapia, halibut. I just finished the last piece of halibut that's in my freezer. And shrimp is another one of my favorites. Occasionally I'll do a treat like scallops or something like that. So those are some options there. And of course, good old chicken breast. And if you don't have time to cook chicken, because I know sometimes cooking chicken is a pain unless you grill it or do it on the Instapot, you can buy ready cooked chicken at both Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and also Sprouts. So for instance, this is just plain roasted chicken breast. It's already sliced and ready to go. All you have to do is heat it up or have it cold on a sandwich. And then finally, if you're running low on protein, you can always do a scoop of the protein powder. But that's the last choice you want to make. So mostly protein is used post-workout. It's mostly used after lifting to replenish what you've broken down in your body. It's more of a supplement and not a meal replacement. So you don't want to get in the habit of having, say, 3 protein shakes a day. In my opinion, even 2 is too much. I would do a scoop after a workout. If you work out really hard and lift hard, I would do a scoop and a half, especially the ladies. That's really going to help build up the glutes, believe it or not. Alrighty, so as far as spicing it up, I didn't pull out all my spices, but definitely have a lot of spices in your spice rack. Something I love, and I'm going to run over and get it in a second, is the Himalayan pink sea salt. That has a lot of health benefits. I'll cover that at a separate time. And also, if you buy a marinara sauce that has no sugar in it, that's a really good option for just spreading it over your rice or your chicken or your meat or whatever you're having. Okay, so now you've planned out your protein. If you're entering it in MyFitnessPal, I suggest that you enter your protein for the day even before you eat it. Just measure out what you're going to have, weigh out what you're going to have, and put it in MyFitnessPal so you know how close you're getting to your protein goal. So next you're going to look at carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are essential as an energy source. So interesting fact about carbohydrates, they are not essential for survival. So you can survive without carbohydrates, but they are essential for maximum performance. So yes, you can live without carbohydrates, but I do not recommend cutting out every single carbohydrate in your diet. An exception would be sometimes people are very, I don't want to use carb sensitive, but they're prone to diabetes, and a lot of times having a higher fat count and a lower carbohydrate count, folks just feel better on that. So here are a few options. There's lots of options for carbs. You don't have to limit yourself to a sweet potato every day. So beans are a great option. Black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. Quinoa is an excellent option, particularly if you have problems digesting and you've noticed that you have bloating after eating some types of foods. Quinoa and wild rice, I don't have that to show you, but wild rice are 2 good options for that. Hi Sonia, so glad you're watching. How are you doing? And then all kinds of rice. So brown rice is a good option, but some people are very sensitive to an ingredient in brown rice that causes bloating. So I would just be aware of that. I can eat a little bit of it, but if I start eating brown rice all day long, I start to have digestive issues. So I stick mainly with jasmine rice. And the jasmine rice would be, I like to get the Trader Joe's because it comes in individual, let me show you, it's individual packets. You just poke a hole in that top with a seam, and then, oh, I'm so glad you're doing good, Sonia. And then you just pop it in the microwave. Since we're at a high altitude, I do 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And then it's ready to go. And of course, you're not gonna eat this whole bag, hopefully. You're gonna put the rest of it in the fridge, and it's ready to go for next time. And what I like about the white rice is it picks up the flavor. Let's say you're using a marinara sauce, it's gonna pick up the flavor. Just be sure it's doesn't have sugar in it. Some of them are really high in sugar. Alrighty, so we talked about brown rice, white rice, quinoa, beans. Oh, another option is Ezekiel bread. So you can have other types of bread, just be careful to track it. But hold on just a second. You can have other types of bread, but just be careful to track it in MyFitnessPal, and be aware that sometimes too much bread because of the gluten will cause bloating. So one of my favorites is the Ezekiel bread, and they have all different kinds, and they have the English muffins in Ezekiel, which is really good, and the tortillas. All right, so then another option, and this is a snack or a breakfast option, or you can put it in your shakes. So it's quick oats. If you're gonna put it, there you go. If you're gonna put it in your shake, don't make the mistake I made a few weeks ago. I grabbed the wrong oats. I grabbed the slow cook oats and put like a half cup in my protein shake and got such a stomach ache. Like it was horrible, horrible, horrible. Don't do that. Get the quick oats if you're gonna put it in your, add it to something. So those are options there. Veggies, I didn't pull out every single veggie. My two favorites are just a simple green salad with carrots and onions and maybe a few black olives on there. And then I really like green beans, and it's just convenient to get the bag and to steam them. It's so easy these days. There's so many options. All right, so we've talked about all those different things. Now the last thing would be your fats. So fats, you're gonna be looking at olive oil, coconut oil, coconut flakes, all different kinds of nuts, all different kinds of nut butters, and I think I said avocados, but yeah, avocados, or then those holy guacamole. They're little individual containers of guacamole, and one is just exactly about the right amount of fat. So if you're gonna go over on anything, and I've learned this with myself, and then I've seen it with clients, women always think it's gonna be the carbs. They think they're gonna go way over on their carb count. It's always the fats. They're sneaky. And oftentimes when people aren't seeing results, hi Tammy, I'm so glad you're on here. Oftentimes when people aren't seeing results, it's because they're not aware of how much fat they're taking in, because it's in salad dressing. It's in, if you cook salmon, salmon's great. It's healthy, but it has a very high fat count. Whole eggs, same thing. They're healthy, they're good, they're great, they taste wonderful, but they have a high fat count. So they're actually considered both, those two things are considered both a protein and a fat, the salmon and the eggs. So just be aware, and I'd say salad dressing is that's a big one. And then there's certain foods, if people eat vegan, there's actually certain kind of vegan foods that have a pretty high fat count. So it's just a good idea before you eat it, check it out in MyFitnessPal, and see if you can fit that in. So that's it. So I would start with my protein, and you want to do, most women, it's going to be about 4 ounces. Men, you're going to be closer to 6 ounces. That's first. Cook up your protein. Seriously, I can cook this bag and have it ready in less than 30 minutes, all ready to go, more like 20. And then I've got fish for the whole week. It's really not hard, guys. A lot of times we overcomplicate this food prep, and we think we have to get really fancy, and it's easy. And then once you cook it, you just add the spices. I'm really fond of putting salsa on top of my protein. I put salsa on top of everything except for oatmeal. Then you're gonna look at your carb source. So it's gonna be, rice, beans, quinoa, wild rice, Ezekiel bread. Just be careful with eating a lot of bread because again, for most people, not everybody, but for most people, it will bloat you. And I notice it. I can even just have one slice and my abs will wash out like the next day. I won't have abs. And so it just is a little bit inflammatory. And so we don't talk about good foods and bad foods. There's it's just food. It's just energy. So yes, there's choices that are better than others. Obviously, it's better to have a piece of chicken than this huge ice cream sundae. But we don't get into that good, bad, because that messes with your head. You start to feel guilty. So you have an ice cream sundae, you feel guilty. Then you feel like, what's the use? And you go totally off your eating plan. So it's a lot healthier to just say, okay, I had a treat. Track it in MyFitnessPal, go on to the next day, and tomorrow's a new day. Trust me, you'll get better results that way because you won't be so much inside of your head. You won't be dealing with all of those emotions. We don't want to get caught up with having emotions associated with food. That's how people get, honestly, eating disorders, and not just eating disorders where, anorexic, where they're not eating enough or, purging, but people also get into binging because of that psychological component going on. So I hope this helps on how to structure. If you missed any part of this, just start this video over and watch it again. Let me know what you think. I love to get comments and likes. It helps our group to stay up in the algorithms. Sometimes if people don't comment or like any of the posts, what happens is the group just gets buried down because of how fast moving social media is. So do me a big favor and leave a comment. Thanks so much, and you have a wonderful evening.